Buzz. The President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over. That would be an honor. Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you do. For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. And for people all over the world, I am sure they too join with Americans in recognizing what an immense feat this is. Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world. And as you talk to us from the Sea of Tranquility, it inspires us to redouble our efforts to bring peace and tranquility to Earth. For one priceless moment in the whole history of man, all the people on this earth are truly one. One in their pride in what you have done, and one in our prayers that you will return safely to Earth.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor and privilege for us to be here representing not only the United States, but men of peace of all nations, men with interest and a curiosity, and men with a vision for the future.
And thank you very much, and I look forward, all of us look forward to seeing you on the Hornet on Thursday. Look forward to that very much, sir.
Neil Armstrong was the commander and first man to set foot on the moon. Michael Collins was the command module pilot, and Buzz Aldrin, the second man on the moon, conducted various experiments there.
Module pilot Edwin Aldrin.
Before the mission began, the three astronauts talked with an audience at Cape Canaveral in Florida.
Module pilot Michael Collins. We'll now hear from Neil Armstrong.
After a decade of planning and hard work, we're willing and ready to attempt to achieve our national goal.
I do have one complaint, however. I'd like to point out to those of you, particularly in the television business, that I have no TV set on board, and therefore I'm going to be one of the few Americans who's not going to be able to see the EVA, so I'd like you to save the tapes for me, please. I'd like to look at them after the play.
Fascinating. I remember very clearly, I think anybody who was alive at the time does, I remember my parents waking me up and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon.
No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation. So you associated what you saw with...
I have very hazy memories. Well, what we saw was we all were gathered around the old curved top radio and listened.
Talking about, how many feet we were going to the left and right. And then I said, contact light, engine stop.
Scariest moment of the journey.
Scariest. It didn't happen. It could have been scary. Could have been.
We're not getting to see these images live. The Apollo 11 landing was broadcast live. Why now
don't we have the technology to see all of this live?
This ain't easy. It's not easy. Space is hard, but the moon is harder.
And we're getting a picture on the TV. You got a good picture, huh?
He's on the moon.
And the second man is on the moon.
Hey, you got it? That's a good step. Yeah. Beautiful. Isn't that something?
In terms of more media release, yes, absolutely.
We're working towards improving that, trying to get you surface photos, because I know that everyone's hungry for those surface photos. More cameras. The message is loud and clear. It would be great to get a picture. We have that in the works. So more great imagery from the moon. Video and pretty pictures. We're as eager to see those images as the public is.
Obviously, imagery, we love it, want to share it as much as we can. We want to report it. But if we're having issues getting it off of the vehicle,
Unfortunately, we just did not have time to go fix that. It's going to take a little bit of time.
there is a capacity that we share, and we're being as transparent as we can here.
A little slower than we might have wanted.
Some hardware problems.
It's not pointing at Earth. Data flows out of mission control in a very sporadic way.
There are many, many other customers, science customers that use the Deep Space Network. Actually slows the effort to share things with the team. Being a number of issues with file transfers. We did have a number of communications glitches.
No astronaut ever went to the moon. No astronaut ever went more than 500 miles, 400 miles into space. And the reason is because there's a Van Allen belt, which is highly radioactive, that extends from 500 miles to 25,000 miles out in space. The reason ET put that Van Allen belt is there so we couldn't visit any place, because they don't want us contaminating the solar system or the moon or anything else until we complete our essential job here on Earth, which is to live with integrity, without envy, hate, or greed, and to express our love to our family. So they don't want us out there, and that's why they put the Van Allen belt.
I can go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
When you said that just now, did it sound stupid to you? Kind of.
Long intro, I know. It takes a minute for people to jump on. So that's just some of the clips. By the way, the ETs, the extraterrestrials, did not put the Van Allen belts there. That was God. But okay. The rest, though, you could only travel up so far, and 238,000 miles without any issues. We're coming up on the anniversary in July, so I just wanted to get a head start because I will be doing a more in-depth moon show because it's such a big lie. So when we're celebrating 250 years, what I'm hoping for is that we can actually knock out some of the lies. And if you notice in the Nixon phone call, he was talking about world peace, as world peace, world peace. This will bring world peace. I'm not quite sure how the moon landing brings world peace. Okay. Anyway, but that was the purpose of it. So because they stopped going to the moon and right at the same time that Vietnam ended. By the way, 238,000 miles. How did they get the question here? By the way, this is like tinfoil, so Reynolds wrap. So just don't know how that hurled through space. 238,000 miles. It's very tiny too. So how in the world did they get this and put it together in their moon suits? How'd they get those parts together, by the way? There's no pics of them really putting that together. And then, of course, it was such a small capsule. Grown adults believed that Nixon called the moon without interruption for a long time, talking to the astronauts. Okay. You heard Conan asking about the moon. So many things. And Buzz Aldrin saying, oh no, you saw a simulation. The astronauts were super, super, super depressed at the first conference, and they looked around at each other before answering questions as if to stay on script. It was really weird because this is how they looked before the voyage. And then after the voyage, they looked like they were super depressed. It was made of tin foil, and it was broadcast live in prime time. It just so happens that they landed in prime time. So there's a lot of things about the moon, but we will be doing a bigger show on that. We have done multiple shows on it with Bart and everybody else, Sabrell, but I'll be doing more on that coming up. So it's, the anniversary is in July, and we continue to tell this lie. And even Glenn Beck's like, you're un-American if you question the moon landing. I don't know at this point how you couldn't. So anyway, I don't know how you couldn't. All right. Welcome to the show. Melissa, how are you?
Thank you. I'm great today. How are you?
Well, I'm good.
Okay.
You know, this is actually going to go into what we're talking about, because I noticed that the way it was marketed to us, and this could have been, we went to the bottom of the sea instead of space. I mean, it could have been any event, and they made it into the biggest event by telling us it was the biggest event. So those word choices consistently in the press and the marketing of it and everything else made it into this big thing, even bringing world peace. I don't know how a moon landing brings world peace, but we were told it did. We were told that it would, and it was the biggest thing we'd ever done. And like I said, it could be that we went satin on the bottom of the ocean. I mean, we would all have little starfish on our walls, and we would all go back into history and think our childhood was built on going to the bottom of the ocean floor. So depending on the event, the word choices that they use build it into something that they want us to build it into, not necessarily because it is, but because it's desired. What do you think about that? I'm actually curious.
It's interesting that we're talking about this today, because this is something that's kind of been on my mind.
Okay.
And as you know, that I'm kind of a reader, and some books are great and some books are not. And I've been thinking about what makes a book really great, what makes a speech really great, what makes one better than the other.
Okay.
And so we can start at this place. I was reading a book by C.S. Lewis here just this week. And he was talking about the word gentleman. And he was talking about how words, the weight of a word.
Okay.
And words shift and change over time. So in his world, he was speaking about this in the 1940s. He was talking about back in the day, the word gentleman had a certain very particular meaning, meaning that someone was a member of the landed aristocracy. A gentleman was kind of a title. Somebody could have the worst, most atrocious, horrific manners and be a gentleman, because the gentleman was kind of the title.
Okay.
But it kind of has morphed over time. And then people began to say, well, you could be poor and have very fine manners, but you would never be a gentleman because you had no property. You were not part of the aristocracy.
Okay.
So if we kind of fast forward that, and C.S. Lewis was making the point that words frame our world. Words are really, really important in that they're the tools that we use to define how we think. And so when we give a word a certain definition, and then we assume that everyone else has that same definition, are we really right or wrong? I think if you think about words in the last little while, we've heard a lot about democracy, right?
Yep.
What does democracy mean? If I said democracy to an ancient Greek, they might not be too happy with that.
Sure.
Because democracy, they believed, always led to tyranny.
Well, it depends.
When Nancy Pelosi is talking about, well, we're losing our democracy, what is she talking about?
She's not talking about our republic, which is when you're an American citizen, you realize it's a republic. But yes, she has a different.
That's what I mean. There's
she has a different definition.
Here. We've been sold this box of rocks.
Yes.
That we're a democracy, and democracy is great, and we all love democracy, and we want more of it. But we don't ever really take the time to find out what the person promoting that really means by that.
Oh, you're so right. Because to her, a democracy is you're with so many different ideas, and you're all in unity of a certain idea that she likes. And also, it is very different than a republic. But we keep telling ourselves for the last, say, 50 years that we're a democracy in our media, right? Has a big effect on us.
And I think that's being done on purpose.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, I don't think that that's as innocent as we all think. Like, oh, democracy, republic, what difference does it make? I think it makes a world of difference to understand what a republic is and what a democracy is.
Yes.
Right now, my definition of the way in which congressmen use democracy is if we all agree it's good for us, then that's the democracy.
Right.
That is not my definition of what I want in my government. And I'm on a binge right now that government no longer represents the people. They only represent themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't know what kind of government that is. I need to coin a
Well, it's
phrase
not
for it.
it's just
but-
not the American government. So
No.
when we have
oligarchy, maybe.
well, when we have politicians that constantly tell us that, and they're all bought and paid for anyway, but when they constantly tell us that, then obviously they don't even understand what being an American citizen is, because they don't even understand our own government. So,
Well, I pulled an article that George Orwell wrote. And of all the people who understood the weight of a word, George Orwell did. And he commented about words.
Yeah,
and
sure.
He was a writer himself.
Mhm.
And so he fully understood that. He wrote an article called Politics in the English Language. And one of the things he says that the decline of language must ultimately have political and economic causes.
Okay.
It's not due simply to the bad influence of this or that writer, but an effect can become a cause, reinforcing the original cause and then producing the same effect in an intensified form. So that's a lot of verbiage. He gives us a great example. He says, if a man may take to drink because he feels himself to be a failure, and then fail more completely because he drinks. And that's what he's talking about. There's this cycle the final thing he says about language is language becomes ugly and inaccurate because our thoughts are foolish. But the slovenliness of our language makes it easier for us to have foolish thoughts.
Interesting. Okay.
So when we see these people selling us democracy,
right,
the fact that we're letting them say it and letting them promote it means that we're going to get more of the same, and it's going to be worse.
Right.
So we've talk all the time on this show about where do we start. And people might think that you're the grammar Nazi or something, but let's start with words that people frame their conversation in.
Okay.
Let's start with words. We've become very, loosey goosey about every single word. This is an old one. What is a woman? I can't even define that anymore.
I mean,
right?
That's how idiotic that we've become. I mean, it's insane that we even debate what a woman is. I don't know how you can do that, because the facts of being a woman have nothing to do with how you feel about being a woman, but we've turned feelings into facts. And so we've turned word definitions into things that they're not. So it's insane. Yeah. I mean, just because of feelings, we've turned words into things that don't mean what they mean. So
here's a harder one. Yeah. And I thought this was funny. I was having this conversation with my son today, and he's an adult. And so he says, yeah, it's like the word fascist.
Yeah.
What does fascist mean?
Right.
And he said, to people my age, fascist means you disagree with me, therefore I'm going to hate you.
No, that's true, though. That is true, though. It does. It means something totally different now. They use it as a weaponized word instead of it's just an insult weaponized word instead of understanding what it actually is. So yeah, you're right.
Right. And it's just kind of the paradox of that is kind of, and I was like, in our conversation, I said, well, fascist is an economic word. It has to do with a kind of a government system. He goes, yeah, that doesn't matter.
Well, when they did the moon landing, right? The fake moon landing. So when they did that, what's kind of crazy about that is, had they just done this, right, and they just would have landed this tinfoil Reynolds wrap thing, and let's just say they actually landed on the moon 238,000 miles away without any problems in 1969 with little technology, they made this into a media blitz. They made it into the president calling and everyone around their TVs. And I mean, they made it into that. What if they wouldn't have? Then nobody would have walked away saying that was the biggest moment of mankind. Now, how many times have we heard it's the biggest moment of mankind? Mankind reached the moon. Biggest thing ever. We were told to say it repeatedly for the last 60 years. We were told that this was the biggest event. Was it? I mean, obviously it was fake, but let's say it had happened, was it? And so the power of words shaped people's childhoods. They're literally married to this idea. If you even tear it apart now and you even show that we landed in this little capsule made of Reynolds wrap, gold Reynolds wrap, and I don't know, construction paper, honestly, I can't even imagine that we believed this, but we said it so many times that it shaped childhood. So if you say that we didn't do this, people fall apart. People literally fall apart. They can't handle it. So that's the power of ideas. Like you're saying, it's the power behind an idea. It's like we were talking before the show, and we were talking about, I actually saw a meme, Melissa, and it said this doctor gave my wife, I think it was 3 months to live. And it's almost like he put a spell in what he said because the words were so powerful. Because once something like that is said from a doctor, you start thinking it. And sometimes we are what we think. And what happens is what we think. What do you think about that?
Well, like I said, I do believe that words are,
Power.
how do we think?
Power.
We think in words.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to your own brain ever,
Mm-hmm.
we think in words. And so when the doctor frames something in words, those words have power.
Yes.
Those
Yes.
were, if they had no power,
Mm-hmm.
it's whether it's the placebo effect or not, it doesn't matter. What matters is, it is the way now we have framed our life. I have 1 month to live. I have,
Yeah.
6 months to live, or I'm perfectly healthy. It changes who you are and how you see the world in that
my
moment.
gosh, yes. I mean, if we were going to go back to the moon landing, that shaped people's childhood, right? If you take apart that for some reason now, this is equal to somebody's idyllic childhood. This lie is the equivalent of somebody's idyllic childhood. If you poke at this and you go through the multitude of lies, then you literally are taking somebody's idyllic childhood from them. That's how they feel. That's how much power is in the things that we say that form the ideas that we think. It's an amazing, I'm so glad you brought this up today. It's an amazing concept because we don't realize the power. I don't think we realize it. Just like you have a month to live. We don't realize what that does to us mentally.
To go back to something that Orwell was saying,
Mm-hmm.
he said words of a certain kind, and he was talking about political speech, are often used in a consciously dishonest way. That is, the person who uses them has his own private definition, but allows his hearer to think that he means something quite different.
Mm.
And that is his definition of how politicians speak all the time.
Okay.
That they're going to give you, it's like Nixon talking about this is bringing peace.
I mean, you're like, it does? you just go with it because you're like, oh, that sounds nice. That sounds good. It brings peace.
Who doesn't want peace?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Really? Can you argue with that? If this is bringing peace, then I want it.
Yeah.
And it was people reach for things, and politicians are very aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
I believe fully.
Mm-hmm.
People reach for the things that are going to give them stability,
right,
and some measure of control and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about when the moon landing was happening in 68, I think, or 69.
69. Mm-hmm.
We're in the middle of the Vietnam War, and it's ugly on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
People are unhappy. There's racial problems. There's
Right.
the war. People are protesting about that. They want it out. Things feel very out of control. And so for this moment to happen where we had some national pride and we had done something amazing, who would ever have thought that anyone could do this amazing thing? And look, the president said it's bringing peace. Of course, people reached for that.
Oh,
of course they
geez.
did.
Anything to
Now,
bring peace.
Go
Yes.
back to what Orwell says.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people say things and they're deliberately deceptive about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to ask yourself, what did Nixon mean by peace?
Ah.
Did he mean he was going to shut everybody up out on the streets of
Mhm.
Washington in
Mhm.
protest? Did it mean, what does that mean? And
Well,
we very seldom ask that.
Well, I think back then, peace just meant you people that are actually bringing up protests about the wars we're creating, and that we're in and that we're sending your loved ones off to. We're just going to stop that in America because we don't like that kind of discourse in America. So we want you to be 100% patriotic. So this moon landing is going to take care of that. And I actually think that's what he meant by peace, because world peace was
yeah.
never on the bingo card.
And I'm just that old that I remember the moon landing for sure.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being very young and just thinking that it was the most incredible thing. Now, does a 6 or 7-year-old have the ability to sit down and go, like, really? Did they have the technology to do that?
Yeah.
No.
Or look at this tin can in Reynolds
I
wrap.
did not have that ability.
Right.
And my parents bought me a model kit of the Saturn V rocket, and I put it together, and I was so impressed. And it was a moment where I think a lot of people were they were looking for peace, and they found it.
Right. Right. You're right.
And we don't have to think too hard. And that's what Orwell is talking about too. The language becomes very, I don't know what the right word is, but it becomes very slippery when people resort to platitudes to describe everything.
In
fact,
right.
Orwell's recommendation is never use a simile or a metaphor or a turn of phrase that has ever been used before to describe things that you're writing about.
Now it's become opposite. So if you, if they want to, tell you to stop talking, they call you an anti. It could be an anti-vaxxer, and you're anti everything. And it's like Oppositeville. So if they want something to increase that benefits the government, they call a war on it. War on cancer, increase cancer. War on drugs, increase drugs. More drug trade through the CIA. Every time they want, they put a war on it. So we're actually now into Oppositeville, and people can't see it. It's very weird. Like words have become opposite and opposite meaning of what they actually. So they just use these words, and these buzzwords have become, or a conspiracy theorist. You're a conspiracy theorist. There's a buzzword that shuts up the conversation because now you have to defend yourself instead of allowing somebody to think or say or say what they want to say. It is power of words is huge.
Well, I remember first kind of bumping up against this whole concept a long time ago in a history class that I was in. And we were talking about liberals and conservatives. The original meaning of a liberal and a conservative are very, very different than how we use them today. A conservative was, you were a royalist if you were a conservative, meaning you wanted to preserve the system in place already. You were a royalist. You supported the
That's
king.
true. Yeah.
If you were a liberal, you were looking for more representation from the people.
Yeah.
How we use those words today is very different, and that it's okay that the word, obviously we're not still speaking Shakespearean English, and that's okay that the language changes and meanings change, but we just have to know, especially in political talk, what people are, how people define the words that they're trying to sell us. We have to know how they see that word, how they're using it, or what is the weight that they're trying to put to the word to make us back off. We've heard a lot of this word lately. I'm going to say a really charged word. How about a Nazi? If I call you a Nazi, what does that mean? Do I mean that you have posters of Hitler in your basement? Or do I mean that you just are so repressed and so weird, and you're just, I don't like what you have to say, and you disagree with me, so you're a Nazi.
You're a Nazi. Yep.
Yeah.
Nazi's a new
it's
buzzword.
just an insult word now.
I agree with you. I was at a lunch with Glenn and Glenn Beck, and it was like 25 people, like super small. And I had just done a show on the moon landing, and I said, we don't have any of the records because we have Dorothy's shoes from Wizard of Oz, but we don't have any of the records because they disappeared and somebody lost them. So it was loud. So I had just recently done a show on Alex Jones about that. And so in the middle of what was just supposed to be just a kind of a little conversation before lunch or a little speech before lunch, he turned it into, I can't believe that anyone would be so un-American to ever question 9/11 or question the moon landing. Could you imagine being that un-American? So those words are so powerful that they create a reaction and they create people to go, even though,
let's focus on the word that
Mhm.
is the really charged word there.
yes,
The word is un-American.
un-American.
What does it mean to be
Yes.
American?
Yeah. Mhm.
Do you have the right of free speech? Is that an American value?
Are you allowed to think? Are you allowed to have
Well, whether you
questions
agree with
about
him or disagree with
this?
him, free speech is the kind of, in my world, is the
Mhm.
definition of American values.
Yes.
That we have the right to speak freely,
Yeah.
even if I think you're a total nutbag.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you have the right to say it.
Mhm.
And so for him to say that's un-American,
Right.
he's being un-American.
Yes.
Like
yes.
he's
yes.
the one who's saying, "How dare anyone?"
Yeah.
Think about
Mhm.
put those words in Stalin's mouth.
Oh,
this
my
is
gosh.
this is
Yeah.
not. You're not allowed to criticize the state. What is un-American about asking a question about the moon landing or 9/11 or
Yeah.
the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Is the one going on
Yes.
now?
Yes. Well,
You're
whatever follows.
How dare you question Erica Kirk? And I'm
Oh.
like, what's wrong with questioning Erica Kirk?
I agree. I agree with you, Melissa, Midwest Melissa, because whatever followed the next statement, the next question, the next defense after Glenn said that would have been whatever I would have said, even if it would have rocked their world. Like we went 238,000 miles without an issue and made a phone call to the moon. And how did that work back then? And who took the first photo of somebody landing? Okay, so so anything I would have said would have been like, "Oh, can you believe that she's un-American?" Because that
even
word
if you
has
had
so
a
much
note
power.
signed by Neil Armstrong.
Doesn't matter.
That said, I did not go to the moon. It wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have, because the setup was there, and they do this to us all the time, and it's charging, it's emotional, and now emotions now have been weaponized into words so often that having a conversation with somebody on the left, like a total leftist, very difficult to do because it's all thrown into emotion based now because of the changing words. And you're so right about this. I mean, it has power. I had Brad on from the Emotion Code book, and it was fascinating to me how many things he said were from words, from emotion, from these things that are external that we take in, and it forms our ideas and it forms how our body reacts. I thought, wow, that's an interesting idea.
Well,
So-
if we go back to that word,
Mhm.
woman, what is a
Mhm.
woman?
Yeah.
Who could have ever predicted
Not
that
me.
we would have an argument over what a woman is?
Right.
And now it's absolutely an incendiary word now.
Mhm.
You can start a street fight by
Yes.
saying,
Yes.
this man over here is
Mhm.
you're denying his femininity or his womanhood.
Right.
And I'm like, he's not a woman.
Yes.
It's not a woman.
It's so true. And how it goes into the emotion, because the only person that's going to be in an emotionally charged argument with you will be somebody that turned an emotion into a fact, and then the word into something it's not. So
Isn't that the whole basis
Yes.
of the way in which woman is defined now? If you
Yeah.
feel like a woman, you are a woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you just feel like it. And I'm like, no.
Facts are facts.
Wearing how you
Yes.
feel or how you dress
Yes.
or how you present yourself.
Let me see. Am I a
public,
woman?
It does not make you a woman.
Yep, I'm a woman. I just looked. Still a woman. Yes, and how we marvel at the idea that somebody could actually create an argument over it because of the way they feel, utterly changing the definition. Amazing.
Right.
Amazing.
Well, you were talking about words that have flipped in their meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people used to talk about if something was awesome,
Mm-hmm.
it was not just that it was good or
Mhm.
great or like, oh, I really like that. Awesome was supposed to be inspiring awe, like godly awe.
Yeah.
You know, my
Yeah.
cheesecake that I had for dessert today
Yeah.
is awesome. Well, not that much. It might be great. It might taste lovely, but we're so like, and I'm thinking hard about what Orwell is saying. We've just become so imprecise, and it's become we've become so lazy in our language.
Well, we're down to syllables now, you know, like,
well, texting has done that for us. What about the word triggered? To be triggered, what does that mean?
Yeah. And we all know, but it's just amazing that it's become a word like Riz, you know, and like all these different words that everyone uses because they have to go down to a syllable. So I feel like the caveman chart's going the other way. The nonsensical caveman chart, it's actually the wrong direction, but
yeah. Triggered is a good one because triggered used to mean like something really horrific, you know, and it had a scientific meaning. Like a triggering was like a stimulus that caused a response. Now it's like, oh, okay, I guess you were triggered by Glenn Beck when he called you un-American, huh?
Yeah. Well, it triggered the whole audience that was there.
Like, you're not a plant.
No, no.
You were not. It's not like stimulus response stuff. Here's another good word. Think about how we use the word trauma today.
Oh,
this is like your medical term.
Everything is trauma now. Too.
Well, what is trauma, really? If we talk about what the word actually means, what is trauma?
Well,
trauma is like physical injury.
Yeah, like huge physical injury,
like,
trauma.
I suffered traumatic injuries in the car accident that broke 37 of my bones. You know, that's trauma.
Right.
But now, if, you know, like, Kate, you were late coming on the air today, and now I'm just all traumatized by that. Like, no, you're not.
Everything's over the top.
Trauma has actual that word has weight until we use it for everything, and then it loses its weight. Then we have somebody who has actual trauma.
Yes.
And we've made it into nothing. We have somebody who's suffering from post-traumatic stress, who has actual trauma to deal with in their life, psychological trauma or physical trauma. And we have so trivialized the word because, you know, I don't like dogs and I saw one on my walk today and now I have trauma. Now the poor guy or the veteran, the soldier who has actual trauma is now on that level.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. So exaggeration, and no one questions it. They're just using these words randomly. We would have never used those words 50 years ago like that. We wouldn't have described anything like that. So why now?
Well, you know, in the world of parenting, we have a whole generation of kids now, young people, young adults, some of them in their 30s, who are just cutting off their parents because they had childhood trauma. Childhood trauma. My parents did not serve every need and wish that I had, and now I'm traumatized as an adult.
Right.
You know, like, seriously,
is
I
it
don't
attention?
know that everybody. That what does that do to the person that really did have trauma as in their childhood?
Yes.
What would it take?
Yeah.
Does that mean that your mom didn't get you a car when you were 16? Or did it mean that you were suffering from abuse in your home?
No, you're right. Does trauma mean you didn't get spoiled? Who knows? You know, trauma can be abuse, and trauma can be just, I didn't get what I want in that moment. So we've changed the definitions, and I do think it lends to victimhood. I think that it creates a victim, and it creates that exaggeration, creates attention, and people are seeking attention now. If I had to nail down kind of a reason for it, I would say attention.
Well, here's the thing. Words help us create mental categories. So we take a dramatic word like trauma, and now we understand what that category is. That means somebody has had something very significant happen to them in a negative way, perhaps, whether it's physically or emotionally, mentally, whatever. And we have a category for that in our brain. And then when that word begins to become trivialized, we're still putting people into that trauma category. That's how the victimhood comes. Because someone who suffered real trauma in their life we should have compassion for that. We should be attentive to that.
Mhm.
But when we lump a whole bunch of other people into that have not had that significant
Right.
level,
Mhm.
then we still have that category. That's a victimhood
Mm-hmm.
category. And now we're lumping people in there who maybe don't deserve, not that people don't deserve our compassion,
Right.
but maybe some of those people just need to put their big girl pants on,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And it's
So-
something we can teach our kids and grandkids too. I mean, you look at the word choices. Look what we're doing. We're creating attention for ourselves. We have to have all eyeballs on us, and what that's feeding for us. And in the days of I've seen it go up since we've had social media. So it has to be something that lends to that attention whoring that's going on.
Well, like I said, I think two
Mhm.
things happen in language, at least two, probably more.
Mhm.
This mental category thing that we're talking about. And the other thing is it's deliberate confusion.
Mhm.
People use a word like equality, and we're all sold the equality
You're right.
game.
Yeah.
But what they mean by equality is not what I mean. And when I get my
Amen.
equality, when I get my share of equality, if I'm not happy with it, I can't say that I wasn't warned. Look, I told you so.
Amen.
There you go.
Yes.
You got your equality.
Yes, amen. I so agree with you on that. But different definitions now for different words, and people weaponize them, and they even make it sound as if we're talking about the same thing. And that's really important to this conversation, because you're right. Everyone thinks they're on the same page, but they're truly not.
Right. And like I
Mhm.
said, so we have people creating categories of words that help us. How we understand the world is how we think about it in those words.
Mhm.
And then we have people who are deliberately misusing words or
Mhm.
setting us up to fail,
Yeah.
or setting us up.
Right.
I think politicians are great at setting us up.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think I gave this example a while back. My governor said that he believes that every community in Indiana should have the right to decide for themselves about AI data centers.
Mhm. They do, actually.
Doesn't that sound nice?
It does.
That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
But what he did was something completely different. He's in the back room. He's given big, huge tax breaks to all these corporations that want to come in, making it virtually impossible for people in local communities, in local rural communities, to have a voice in the process.
Isn't it amazing? They're such lying scumbags. Yeah.
But he's using words that we want to hear.
Yes.
And then, but not,
Mhm.
it's just all fuzzy. It's just fuzzy
Yes.
wuzzy. He
So
doesn't
true.
know. We don't really know what he means. So I hear him say, well, he believes that our local communities should have a voice.
Mhm.
But he doesn't mean anyone should listen to that voice, because he's busy giving tax subsidies to AI corporations.
Mhm.
You can talk about it all you like,
Right.
but we're going to do what we want.
Yeah.
We're
so
not
true.
very good at kind of looking through the, I don't know.
You know why?
Just
I
the
think-
jargon that they
Well, I think
throw at
we're
us.
old enough that we think that people are on the same page as to when we were little. Like you would think that we had the same definition because there's only one definition. But the more we try to change definitions to cater to the lies and cater what we think and to cater how we feel, it's kind of like your truth. This is my truth. Well, there is no such thing. It's truth or not truth. It's not your version of truth, but we have made it into that. And, we've actually codified that, and we've said it's okay to have your truth, which means it's my perspective, but we call it truth. So such a big lie. But we just
sometimes it's even just opinion.
It is. It's an opinion, a perspective, and so that's what's so frustrating about what we've developed into now. And I know we only have a few minutes left. Susan's going to come on, but it's amazing because we just kind of think that everyone's playing by the same rules of words, of meanings, of facts, but they're not. They're truly not. So
Well, I love this concept.
Okay.
If you think about a word,
Mhm.
every word has a boundary around it.
Yeah.
And that boundary is the definition of the word. And so if you have too
Interesting.
tight a boundary, then the word doesn't carry enough meaning. But if it's too loose, then it means nothing at all.
You're right. 100%.
So think about our words as having boundaries. Like, woman has a boundary, and I'm pretty sure we've trespassed the boundary a lot lately.
Oh, 100%. Oh, 100%. I so thank you. Thanks for coming on. That was awesome. I'll think about it more today too. And I know people out there will be thinking about this because think about how many words have been changed just in the last, say, 20 years since social media. Just really look at how things have changed, because I think that's a huge catalyst too, to constantly put out what your meaning is of a word. And for some reason, we all think it's okay for everyone to keep changing the meanings. It's very odd. So
Yeah, it is. It is,
anyway,
for sure.
I so appreciate you. Thanks, Midwest Melissa.
You
Truly.
know what this word means. Bye-bye.
Yes, I do. We're going to bring Susan on. I just wanted to mention a couple of things. Number one, the organ donation, the truth about organ donation, the truth about actually how they came up with organ donation is incredibly shocking. You are going to want to understand what I'm talking about. And so please go to katetalks.myshopify.com and grab the book. It's new. I just published it, and there's more coming. There's also a 2 ebook special. But please, before Susan comes on, I just wanted you guys to know that that was out. That it will change your perspective actually on what organ donation is, and it goes to the meaning of a word. What is brain death? How did they come up with brain death? And the story behind that it's insanity, you guys. It's insanity. And what we've turned it into because of the power of the word hero. I'm not saying don't do it. What I'm saying is with organ donation, the book is out at katetalks.myshopify.com. Go grab it so that you can have a balanced approach to what they're actually doing and what you're consenting to when you put it on the driver's license. It's very, very, very important that you know the details, because states now are trying to say that you don't have a choice. Like even if you take it off your driver's license, you just didn't know what you were doing. I mean, it's crazy. And you want documentation. You want your family to understand what you truly want, because every situation's different. So please go and get the organ donation book. Also get the cancer book. Naturally, it has the answers in there, the same info that I was giving to family and friends. And so now it's published, and you can grab also the ebook on a twofer. You can grab the ebook about AI, the bait and switch, and go grab those, please. Because the more information you have in front of you that you can send to people and go, this is why I think this, here's the receipts, then that's important. I think that's very important. So go get that. There's also a prepper handbook that's amazing to get you ready for more weather warfare coming our way as well, and what to do in those instances. But the book is from the survivor's point of view. So it was a collection of what the survivors of these things, not the experts who have never done anything or been in any problem that are the so-called experts. I'm talking about the people on the ground that said, this is what we did in this emergency. This is how we handled it. You can go get that book. I think you can also get it in print too, right on katetalks.myshopify.com. Also go to Cardio Miracle, and that's the drink that I take all the time that is amazing. So it's the one that has all the nutrients. And I know if you're probably taking a million supplements, there are certain supplements I take from formulaiq.com because I like their ingredients. You can use the code Kate on that, but Cardio Miracle kind of does the whole job mostly. And it's one of and I know people take a million things in, their drinks and, Relight and all kinds of different things, but this actually has the fruits and veggies in it 20 times the average product. So cardiomiracle.com/Kate, go give it a try, because there's a money back guarantee on it too. So you don't lose anything by trying it, and it supports the show. All of this supports the research that we do. All right, Susan, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you, Kate?
Excellent. What's on the docket?
Well, I just remembered this story about organ donation. Did you see the story? It's actually in Scientific American. Man dies of rabies after receiving infected kidney transplant.
Yeah. Not only that, but I don't think people realize that once you do get a new organ, the rate of having to get new ones because things happen, not like that. I haven't seen that kind of case, but the things that happen, usually it's like 7 to 10 years, you have to get a totally new one. It's not like they last forever. too. So there's so much about organ donation that people don't know, and that's why I wrote the ebook. So go get the ebook. It's a digital book. It'll get sent to your email. It's amazing. Go get it. And I think we have
absolutely. This was a really strange case too.
Yeah,
They thought
weird
the
case.
guy had died of a cardiac event, but he'd been scratched
Oh my gosh.
by a
Interesting.
skunk that had rabies.
Oh
And
my
then when they
gosh.
knew that the recipient
Yeah.
died of rabies, they're like, how did this guy die? He's been in the hospital. How did he die?
Right. Oh, that's weird. Because rabies is actually really rare. I mean, we chalk it up to it's going to happen to everybody, but it's actually super rare. So that is a really rare case.
Rare. Yeah, they didn't even think that he was dying. They thought
Weird.
he died of a cardiac event.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's like things in the universe that you didn't know are a thing.
Yeah.
This was a thing. So it's just good
Okay.
to be aware.
Nothing shocks me anymore. I swear to you. Just nothing shocks me.
So here's something that kind of shocked me a little bit,
Okay.
but not really shocked, but not surprised really. There was a news article just within the last few days that there were First Amendment lawsuits filed after Charlie Kirk's death because a bunch of people, at least 600 people got fired for their horrendous posts about Charlie Kirk, like, oh, he deserved it, et cetera, et cetera. And now, some of these people filed First Amendment lawsuits, and they ended up with huge 6-figure payouts. And I wanted to go over some of them because I think this represents the ratcheting forward our awareness of what we do have a right to say. And in some ways, this is a good thing. Teachers spouting off in the classroom to the 12-year-olds or the 14-year-olds, not good.
Right.
But this was a case where people who had careers, mostly with the government, then later were fired for these posts and then had to be reinstated. So I'll give you an example. Maria Ruthenberg, she was a public defender with the Iowa office of the state public defender, and she was fired and then later reinstated following her online comments. She said things like, she made multiple comments.
Okay.
You live by the sword, die by the sword. Which is funny because he did not live by the sword. He was a talker. He was only talking about things, and somebody shot him. You reap what you sow. Actually, that's not true. When you reap something, you sowed something different. She said, then later she said, whoever shot Kirk should go to prison, almost like an afterthought. But then 2 days later, she was terminated. The next day she was terminated less than 5 days after her initial post. She'd spent 15 years as a public defender. So you would think somebody who had spent 15 years as a public defender would have been more judicious. And it kind of reveals what kind of public defender she was. If she's saying, you live by the sword, die by the sword, that's not what he was doing. Somebody could have said bad words back to him if they thought what he said was bad. But then she sued the state and she sued the public defender who testified against her. So somebody else testified against her.
Okay.
And she sued this person as well. And she was awarded $125,000 in damages. And now she said how traumatized she was by the whole episode. She said, I was just in the state of despair because I thought my career was over. Look, it's fascinating that people they put it out there. Their comments can go viral. It got reposted by friends of TikTok. And then it went viral. So that's what you have to assume when you're putting things out, that it can go viral. Melissa Crook was a high school teacher. Now, I think high school teachers are in a different category because of who they're influencing. She was fired after commenting on a family member's Facebook post that I do not wish death on anyone, but him not being here is a blessing. And she was fired. So that seems extreme to have, to have fired a teacher over that. but she settled with the school district for $145,000 and full benefits.
Did she really?
Left the school as part of the settlement.
Well, what's amazing is that these people use their position as teacher or
Yes.
whatever to make these kind of insidious comments. And so, I mean, yes, I believe in free speech, right? I believe when you are taking your position of authority and then acting as if, or knowing that you're influencing in the classroom like that.
Right.
This is why they should never be discussing politics or what happens. I mean, it really honestly should be about school, because you're sending your kids there to learn the things, the tools that they need, not get their politics from a teacher.
She commented on a family member's Facebook post with that. But at the same time, investigations were done, and you often wonder if they didn't turn up additional comments just in general that this person has put out where they were unprofessional,
right?
Because she left the school as part of the settlement. So that should tell you something.
Interesting.
So here's an interesting one. Suzanne Swerk, who worked as a healthcare educator at Ball State University in Indiana, was fined after penning a Facebook post that included, quote, "If you think Charlie Kirk was a wonderful person, we can't be friends. And while it's difficult, I can and do pray for his soul." So she was fired. She settled for $225,000 and left the university as part of the settlement. And I think later in the article, it says she still has not found a replacement job. Now, this is kind of one. It's Libs of TikTok. So that's who reposted these. Some of these. Brittany Brown was a biologist with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. She was fired reposting a satirical account that pretended to be a whale.
Right.
Quote, "They care exactly as much about the shooting of Kirk as Charlie Kirk cared about children being shot in their classrooms," which is to say, not at all, unquote. She was fired a day later, and she settled with the state, brace yourself, for $485,000 and left the agency as part of the settlement. So these are not insignificant sums, right?
No.
So both sides
Right.
should be learning from this.
Interesting.
Instantly firing people and or
Yeah.
also putting stuff out there like this. Here's another guy who got a $500,000 settlement. He was a tenured professor and was fired. So tenured means you really can't be fired for things you put out in terms of your work. But it said, after posting a news story with the headline, "Charlie Kirk says gun deaths unfortunately worth it to keep Second Amendment." So that's all he did, is he got his job back and received a $500,000 settlement.
It's well, all these things are now getting discussed too in these places that, I mean, I just, back in the day, they didn't usually do that. They didn't usually just have these they would tell the kids, to go study them out, or, but this isn't, right now we're in school, or right now we're doing this. And now it's become kind of a weaponized sort of situation where people use their power to do that. And by the way, on that Charlie Kirk case, so I live in the area that Tyler, the shooter, the Patsy, lives in. And let me just say, I don't think he did it at all. But right now, the court case is a very interesting court case, because we had Mike Lee, and we had all these people that were basically pushing for telling people in the press that they don't need a trial, just convict him. Very interesting for a constitutionalist, Mike Lee, but whatever. Anyway, I used to think Mike Lee was great until I realized what his career is about. And I'm like, oh yeah, he never does anything. And he's always on the wrong side now. He's always on the bot side of politics. But it was interesting too, because Tyler did not allow so Tyler's defense, they're not allowed to cross-examine the kid, Twigs, who was the one with like the info that basically got everyone to think that he did the shooting. And so they're not allowed to cross-examine him, which is very weird. Okay, this is not a normal case because it's a Patsy case. It's definitely not normal at all. And I think intelligence took him out, and I think that it could have been the exploding microphone. You never know, went wrong. I don't know, but there was definitely a plan to do it that day in Utah. The security team was switched out, and I started saying this the minute this case started happening, but I wanted to give everybody a quick update on it because I'm always getting asked for updates, and there's your update since you brought it up, Susan. So I was like, this it's not a real case. It's not a real case. The guy's a complete and total patsy, and no, he didn't change clothes 4 times in 24-hour period. So yeah, and he wasn't on top of the roof. There's no footage of him ever going up to the university up there, because he lived down here, to the university 4.5 hours away to do any kind of looking at what building he should be on, because he didn't go to that school. And so there's no footage of or receipts or anything of him going up there to even scope it out. There's no way he did this. Okay, go on. I'm done with my update.
No, it's really it's an
just
evolving
baffling.
case that's
Yeah.
turning out to be very strange in some of the court's decisions.
Yep,
And
Patsy all the way.
the decisions are going in the way of cover up.
Uh-huh.
So
Yep.
if they were trying to prove, like, look how transparent we are, then this Twigs kid would have shown up, but he hasn't. So I wanted to just mention one more case, and that was of a police officer. And this seems the most egregious case, where he reposted something that was fake news. It was a public shooting, and he posted a meme that said, Trump said, just get over it. And he was instantly fired. He was jailed. So he was a local retired law enforcement officer. He was jailed by the local sheriff's department in Tennessee for 37 days on a $2 million bond for posting a meme that caused mass hysteria. The meme quoted President Trump reacting to a school shooting. We have to get over it. And this guy, Bushhart, received a payout of $835,000. So I think common sense is being restored in some cases.
You're right.
You can't just treat people this way. You just can't pull the rug out from under them, because people make stupid, impetuous posts online, right? And they get caught up in the moment, and they may have been misinformed.
Right.
You know, a lot of people who condemned Charlie Kirk and hated him.
That was
when asked,
ridiculous.
said they'd never even listened to him.
I know.
They
It
had
was-
only listened to little tiny out of context clips.
Well, it's like Trump, people teach people to focus on their personality and just throw a stone at them. And I know that Trump is bought because they have to be his president. You don't get that role even twice in America unless you're completely bought, and you'll do your orders. You'll take orders. But the thing is that we're trained on personality. So those people that never even listened to Charlie, that had an absolute opinion about him, and it was like, I interviewed Charlie. We had a great interview. Charlie was easy to talk to. He was very, very great at interviewing and expressing his opinions. So if you don't like his opinion, don't like his opinion. But it was amazing to me to see the vitriol. And there's always a level of vitriol. It's never just, I don't like his opinion. It's complete and total madness, insanity, vitriol. And they almost look like they're going to come apart. And so if you know somebody like that, get them mental help quick. There's something really wrong that they would turn into, I don't like his opinion. And these people didn't even listen to him. So, it's all formed by media. We're so easily brainwashed. This is who we are as a people, and the brainwashing is real, folks. And no, I don't know if he's actually dead. Lynn mentioned on YouTube, I'm still not sure if Charlie Kirk is even dead. Me neither, because a lot of times deaths are faked. So you never know. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, the probability is he's dead, but you cannot say 100%. That's absolutely true. Can't say it.
No burial, no body that we saw, but yeah.
You don't know. You can't even determine what you see is real.
I have to say this. I have to say this, Susan, because we're getting this comment from this total moron on YouTube right now. So I have to just point this out. Super orangish. Okay, so probably a bot. But every Trump supporter needs to see a shrink. No, you need to see a shrink because you're so mentally deformed by the media. So brainwashing is real, folks. It has nothing to do with Trump's personality or Trump. And so there's people out there that make it out to be about Trump. No, we don't need to see a shrink. You need to see a shrink because you do not understand the level of brainwashing in this country. Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
Okay,
I always get amazed.
No.
I'm just amazed by these people.
You know, this actually leads to my next article,
Mhm.
which is how now Occupy Wall Street, which was 15 years ago, now officially controls the Democrat Party. And you keep hearing this in the news. I didn't know what it was at first. DSA, DSA, DSA. And it's Democrat Socialists of America. They've rebranded. The progressive movement is rebranding as the progressive movement, as DSA. And it's Occupy Wall Street / the anarchy movement. I feel personally that China inspires this, that our enemies feed into this. They're willing to pay for it, finance it, etc. But it says fingers are now being pointed. This is an article out of the Conservative Treehouse. Fingers are now being pointed toward New York as the epicenter of the new Democrat Party headquarters of DSA, which is a fitting location given that Occupy Wall Street was headquartered there. And this is what he says that is so important because he's been studying politics and observing for 20 years as an outsider. The front line of the DSA movement consists of true believers, 18 to 30-year-olds, mostly white, urban, upper middle income activists carrying their little MacBooks with anarchist stickers and physical attire resembling a blend of hipster grunge and skateboard beanie resistance. And that this is not just an act. These are true believers. He said they don't really shower much love and talk about AOC and Bernie on social media. He says, don't belittle them and say, oh, they're just like total loser freaks. He says, these are authentic and they're building their power base. They bought into the nonsense and genuinely believe the popular narrative sold to them since high school that capitalism is horrible, communism or socialism is the preferred system of government. He said, these are the true Maoist youth. He said, not one of them would shed a tear if their collective comrades broke into their parents' houses tomorrow and murdered the elders. They wouldn't care a bit. They think they deserve to die. He said, when joined in group assemblies, their emotions are controlled by the sensibility of the group. This is the Mao generation repeating and rhyming. So it is like a group hypnosis, right? And we saw some of this with COVID, right?
Right.
So this is back to the law enforcement or pigs. Policy should support emotions. The collective should rule every decision. That is their core belief.
Right.
And they also buy into this, that all dissent must be squashed unless they actually lose a popular election. Then they say the system is oppressing them. So they ratchet into power and then don't leave. They hold on to power by crushing.
Yeah.
And they believe speech that argues against their belief is violence, just like some of those posts I just read. However, violence that supports their belief is speech. And that is what they have brainwashed themselves to believe.
They're Marxists.
And what others have brainwashed them, which makes them actually quite dangerous as a group. And it says the traditional mechanisms of self-controlling morality don't apply to them. So all the things that we know about being a good person, they don't apply that to themselves because their ideology is what is the most important to them. They never cede power. Elections do not remove them. He says, go look at history. The only thing that has ever stopped socialism is physical violence. And that's because they use physical violence to suppress their opposition.
And I think they're paid to. They're paid
Charlie
to.
Kirk.
These are, a lot of these people are paid. They're on the payroll. I mean, it's why they get the news attention too, because the news is a farce.
Oh, 100%. Yes, they are absolutely on the payroll and they are being stoked by these bigger, mega foundations that are
Yeah.
totally supporting this.
It's kind of like they should call it Marxist for cash.
It is Marxist
I have
for
an-
cash.
I have a new program.
Yes.
You can become a Marxist for cash, like Super Orange over there. So
Yeah.
you can wear the mask. You can believe everything the media says. You can act like you're fighting and you're some kind of anarchist when you're not. You're actually part of the problem here in America, and you're getting everybody to believe in your Marxism. And yeah, Marxist for cash. That's what they should call it. Let's
Yeah.
not beat around the bush anymore.
And so they sent out a thing that said what DSA represents is a
Mhm.
real contrast to Democrats. This is DSA, who have the run of the last couple elections on fear. They're saying Democrats keep running on fear. You can't run on that. You have to for an alternative. And it says it's most important. We have to have people saying sensible things on our team.
Mhm.
And they sent out questionnaire surveys to 250 of its chapters, asking members to weigh in on who they want to back and why, and return their findings.
Mhm.
They expect to receive a stack of 20 pages or to 40-page dossiers from chapters around the country saying, who do you want to support and why? And so it's not going to include Bernie Sanders, but they
The
do
Marxist
plan to hold
that's only
national
lived off of
discussions
government.
with Bernie Sanders and Mayor Mondami.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Another Marxist.
I was listening to a video by Tori Maris, who had worked for John Brennan, and she's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, Mondami, he was one of ours. He was one of our assets." And then you
Mhm.
go, "Okay, actually, I can believe that." If you believe these socialists, and then they come up from nowhere and they're super charismatic, and they seem to have all this backing, even from Jews. You know, Mondami is a Muslim, and yet there's a lot of prominent Jews that supported him. You go, okay, what is up with this? What is up with this exactly? And then to hear Tori Maris go, oh, he was one of ours. You go, oh, I get this. This is an asset who was groomed and brought up, just like you know who, Barack Hussein Obama. Asset, groomed and brought up.
Okay.
And so that actually makes sense when you realize how much support and money they garner behind them. So what's important about this article today is Mondami-backed candidates swept 3 closely watched New York congressional primaries.
No, because the
Tuesday,
elections are rigged.
yesterday. Yeah, Claire Valdez, Brandlander, and Daria Lisa Chevalier all defeated more establishment-aligned rivals, including 2 incumbents. Okay, so
Mhm.
they call that a political earthquake, and they say you have to pay attention to that because that shows the sands of time are shifting, and they've intimidated more mainstream candidates. And that is no small thing because in California, you can never understood where's the Republican Party in California? You know, why did they just turn over and play dead? And it's in part because the Democrats use such ruthless, I would say, mafia means to suppress any opposition to how they rule. And it becomes like a permanent state. You know what I mean? A permanent state of politics.
Mhm.
It's in Chicago, they called it the machine. It's machine politics.
Right.
You feed people into it, and this is what you get. So that is happening, and that's what DSA means, if you had not heard that term before.
Yes. Yep.
So anyway, new, surprising. Good news on the fraud front. You wonder, when you say, why can't our government do something? You realize, oh, they're intentionally not doing something. ICE is now fining immigration attorneys for alleging false asylum claims. And they say this is the first time we're doing it. So you had all these attorneys who are filing fake documents for people, getting people through the system. They fined one attorney $225,000. And they go, oh, this is a first for us. Really? Now, why haven't you been doing this all along is my big question. It's because the system was working for the people in control of the system by not doing it before. But now things are different, and now the attorneys are being fined. So there's slight accountability. reminds me of an AP article that I just came across that talked about the fact that 3 whistleblowers from the DEA came forward and said, we are stunned about all the fentanyl we saw being allowed into the United States. And when we would complain and say, why aren't we stopping all this fentanyl? It's ending up on the street. Overdoses are going through the roof. They would say, DEA, we're trying to build bigger cases against the people creating this.
But it's
is
coming.
Is that what we're actually paying our government to do? To build bigger cases, or are we paying them to clean up the streets?
Well, my question is, if it's coming from the AP, it's going to be a lie. So there's a lie in there, and the fentanyl thing is very interesting because when I hear the AP hype, like talking about it incessantly, I always know something's wrong with the story. So they're probably creating control mechanisms and blaming it on fentanyl. But whenever I see an AP story, though, I'm always looking for the lie, because I've on the air, I've done this many, many times in 16 years where I take an AP story and I'm like, look at how they're adding adjectives, 180 per article, usually on average, to teach us how to feel about it. So
to create the bias.
Yeah.
Right?
So they're creating a story about it, and they're using 3 whistleblowers. But if the whistleblowers are real, the AP would never be interviewing them. So now I'm like, okay, what's wrong with that story? It's just how I think because of where we're at. Somebody the other day told me I have chronic suspicion. I was laughing because I'm like, chronic suspicion for chronic suspicion's sakes is not okay. Chronic suspicion about your government, even Christ's parents were chronically suspicious about what their government was going to do next. That's why they boogied out of town to save him from being murdered at 2. But here's the deal, though. So when we're looking at stories from the AP and media, then we have to kind of take into account what is wrong. Because they've lied so many times, we pointed out the lies, they get caught lying all the time. So the suspicion is warranted because we're consistently lied to in America. So we have to kind of wake up on that. But there's got to be something wrong with the fentanyl story because the media is so intently on that story. Whenever the media does nothing but talk about it, I'm like, okay. Or it's a distraction with the DEA.
So what I thought about that is it's because it's Trump. I thought this is because the AP has been hostile to Trump.
Right.
And it said, even as it battled the deadliest drug epidemic in American history, the DEA permitted hundreds of thousands of fentanyl pills. And so there was a fabulous documentary called The Pharmacist. And if anybody can ever just track that down, I think it was on Netflix, and it was about an actual pharmacist in New Orleans. And after Hurricane Katrina, he saw these big clinics open up. We saw very young people, like 18-year-olds, coming to him with these huge opioid prescriptions to be filled. He's like, tell me why you need this. And she's like, oh, I twisted my ankle. He's like, who wrote this for you? And he found out, and his son had overdosed and died, but he found out that these big clinics were being allowed to operate. The government was allowing them to operate. There were thousands of prescriptions being written every month, lines out the door of people just lining up. And he thought it was in part a control mechanism that the government was saying, because he tried to go up the chain and say, what's going on? How come you guys I'm not cracking down on this? To control the people who were having their lives wiped out, wiped away, to put them on drugs.
Right.
And he said that's exactly what it looked like. So in this case, I thought this looked like it was being aimed at attacking the administration for failing to act, and that federal prosecutors were trying to make themselves look better, and that the AP was going after that, like self-glorification of the prosecutors.
Right.
So it did make me wonder, because this is Albuquerque. It's one of the most corrupt areas, especially for trafficking.
Yeah.
So
lots of things happen in New Mexico. Have you ever noticed that? Epstein had his place there, right?
Yes.
You've got the fake moon landing that was filmed there. You've got the fake nuke thing that was filmed there. You've got like all kinds of stuff in New Mexico. Why New Mexico? So odd. Anyway, Just realizing
I
how
don't
much it
know.
gets
I don't know.
utilized.
It's like there's this corridor, and they made the decision on
Yeah.
where the corridor was going to be.
Right.
And I think New Mexico was,
Mhm.
chosen somehow. And then you have protection rackets, right?
Mhm.
That's how things and crime persists in areas because of the protection rackets. People paid off, money paid off.
Mhm.
The other article that I actually looked into was a very interesting expose on cityjournal.org on Gavin Newsom. And it's entitled Gavin Newsom's Circle of Corruption, and how decades it names all the people who were involved, who was handing money to who would occasionally get a slap on the wrist for corruption and for bribery, slap on the wrist, pay a fine. But in reality, this is how this protection racket of machine politics works. And it lasts for generations. And we know that, right? Because people kind of get born into the system or choose to go into the system based on how they were raised.
Right.
So it's I would highly recommend people read it, Gavin Newsom's Circle of Corruption. And now he is under federal investigation by the Department of Justice. He came out and said, I apologize to my wife, and she's under investigation. But he made that public comment in a interview. And you thought, I apologize to my wife for putting her through this. And so something is up. His chief of staff was convicted of a bunch of charges and made a plea deal. And I have a feeling is talking about some things. So it's going to be interesting to see what unravels from this, because this is all hardball politics.
Well, it's like City
People
Journal.
died.
City Journal will tell you kind of the skimmer approach, and then because they're kind of a mainstream media rag, but they're going to tell you like the surface stuff, but won't tell you that election was completely rigged, that put him in. He's Nancy Pelosi's little nephew boy, and that he is part of the cabal and has been for a long time and serves up the New World Order like 24/7 and kind of the diabolical people behind him. So crazy that we always get the skimmer story, which is good. It's a good starting point. It's just there's so many layers underneath to it. And I hope people keep researching, even past City Journal. I hope they actually go in and really research Gavin Newsom, because his the reason that he was governor of California and has been is there's a definite bought and sold, will do the marching orders, complete and total little communist and Marxist. He's just pretty sick and pretty twisted. He went all in on COVID. I mean, just it's pretty insane. So I hope people even go beyond that and do their own homework, don't you? I'm like, I just want people to really look into these people.
So the background of who put him into power is one aspect of the story,
Right.
not this story, but who he as a kingmaker of other people's political careers, the people he is bringing up with him, who then become players in their own pond,
Right.
like the mayor of San Francisco, somebody he put on a board and then moved to another board and then made her high profile
Right.
in order to raise her status so she could become mayor. This was, I believe, the former mayor, London Breed was her name, and she would have been a nobody. She would have come out of nowhere, but he kept grooming her. So he's done that. They list about 12 people in the article, and each one they go through how he helped them become, higher up in their status politically. And I think that's the grooming process that's expected. Like, we've groomed you to be in this state. Now you need to groom other people underneath you,
Right.
who can follow you up the chain, because obviously he's going to be replaced at some point, and they're always looking for that next person. So yeah, this is the people underneath him who he has made
Interesting.
famous in the state of California.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's going to run for president. It's
Ugh.
pretty obvious,
Ugh.
and it's good to
Oh my
research this stuff now.
Well, we had an election for, like, in our own state of Utah for the Republican Party nominees, and the one with the worst record, even worse than a Looney Tune leftist, who parades around as a conservative, very much in the closet as a liberal. And she won the nomination. And I told everyone she was going to, because she's our Congresswoman, Celeste Malloy, and she horrifying record. And she won because the Gates were behind her, gave her money. She's a Republican. The Gates were behind her, and because the governor, our swindly little governor, who's got a lot of secrets, was behind her, and she won. And I told everyone, we have election fraud. We've had election fraud. We've always had it. It used to be ballot stuffing, and then it was ballots disappearing and stuff like that. But when we got the software in 2004, it went off the rails because people they think they can just vote harder. They just think if they try harder that someone good is going to win. The parties prevent that. The parties put in who they want and who does the marching orders. And I knew Celeste was going to come out a winner, even though she's completely hated in Southern Utah. Completely hated. Nobody likes this chick. And she doesn't even own a home in Utah. Why she's representing Utah, it's insane. She lied about her citizenship here and as being a resident of Utah. She completely lied about it. The party and the governor brushed it under the rug. And this woman believes in kill switches in cars. She believes in abortion. She believes in everything that conservatives don't. She turned out to be the winner for the Republican nom, and it's a disgrace. It's disgusting. But we're stuck with this weird woman who is a liberal. And Trump even gave her the endorsement to cover up the election fraud. So here we are. And I'm just telling people, look, we have election fraud all through the country. Who do you think put Gavin Newsom in? Who do you think put our governor in? Who do you think put Celeste Malloy in? So none of these people are on this side of it are conservative. They're not. And we have to get to a point where we actually realize how much election fraud is in there. And no county commissioner actually in the country ran on fixing the elections. So when we really look at the situation, know that since 2004, the software has taken over and the votes go in fine. When they switch them, they can add, pad, and decrease numbers. So until we get to the point where we wake up and realize this, we're never going to change it. And it's just so sad because I know you're mentioning Gavin Newsom, but Gavin Newsom's in because the party wants him there.
Oh, absolutely.
And they wanted Celeste Malloy there. And that's why they didn't give it to Phil Lyman, who was running against her. So
right.
It's just
how
it works.
And when you look at somebody who is a carpetbagger, and that term became
the Romney
famous during the Civil War,
Romney,
when
horrid.
People from the North would come down and they had suitcases made out of little carpets, to just set up a political fiefdom.
That's so true.
And that happens in your state now. You have to say who is funding them,
right?
Because people don't just move to a new state and say, now I want to run for public office. They don't. No, we have mayors now that do that. Where there's a mayor close to us that did that, moved to the area, and within months he wanted to be a mayor. And it's like, so who moved you here? Under the guise you're a Republican, who moved you here? Because we see this with city council, mayors, county commissioners. We see it like the carpetbagging thing. Romney made that pretty famous too, because Romney wasn't in Utah. It's everywhere else. And Romney's gross. I don't like Romney. I'm even a member of his church. I don't like him. But he's a liar. But, all of these people, they're just fakeries. They're just fake. Just drives me crazy. Doesn't it drive you crazy? I know we only have a few minutes, but doesn't it just drive you crazy, Susan? It's
oh my gosh.
You just wonder the motivation. Like, don't they have real lives? Don't they gain satisfaction from just living an authentic life? They have to live this power life backed by money, backed by people who own them, who pull the strings in their life. That's not a life. What are you doing? But they get addicted to the power. They get addicted to the praise and the notoriety of, oh, tell us your opinion on this, and the media appearances. And in the meantime, somebody who comes up through the ranks, has lived in the area for decades.
Yeah, they never
been a farmer, been at some humble profession. That's who you want to support. Even if they might be wrong on an item or two, they're authentic and they're running out of concern and love for the area because they love it. How do these people show up and love the area?
The party won't let them. The party will say they didn't get enough votes, which is total BS. But the parties run the show, and the parties are corrupt. Both parties, Republican and Democrat, are corrupt as hell. And until people realize the elections are stolen, we're not going to get anywhere, because the most humblest of people can go and run for office. They're not going to get in because the party doesn't want them. So what you're seeing now is the picks. Go see the picks. Go see who gets in the nom for the party. That's who the party wants, because they're a total yes person with zero character. They will do whatever they're told. They do not say no. That's just how it works.
Just like AOC.
Yeah.
Auditioned for the part. Her brother submitted her name, had to do
she was the best out of
video
10,000
audition and say the right ththings, be the right things. They hired her for charisma. And then they fed her the lines about what her beliefs should be, which is why she comes across as such a bimbo at times, because that's what she is.
Yep.
Anyway.
Thank you so much.
On that note,
on that cheery note,
bimbo note.
Well,
yes. Thank you so much, Kate.
You betcha. Thank you. I think Susan, she's awesome. What I said yesterday on the show was that, and I meant it. I knew who was going to get in. I knew, because you have to do the talking points. It's all about the talking points. So the talking points and the votes are very, very important to the deep state, and you're not going to bypass that. The party picks the winner, and it should tell people volumes. The voting in our country is gone. We don't have a representative republic anymore. Who needs to hear that today? Raise of hands. Who needs to hear that our elections are gone? And the more people that awake to that get angry about that, could actually possibly get our country back. That's why I say what I say, is because I know people like Super Orange don't have a brain, and the commenter on YouTube, the one that's like all vitriol about Trump because the media's taught her to say those things and act like that. When you get beyond personality and you see what's actually happening in the country, the thing people should be most pissed off about right now is that we don't have a representative republic anymore. We're celebrating 250 years of freedom, but based on what? Our system is gone in that regard. We still have the Constitution hanging by a thread, but we don't have the representative republic anymore. And then us Christians are being taught, well, be a good global citizen. Don't even fight for that. Don't even be concerned about that. And that's wrong. We should be very concerned about that, because we should have free and fair elections so that people can actually get nominated by the people. But we don't. We have horror stories like our governors and our Congress people that are all bought. In Utah, we're supposed to be a conservative state. We haven't been conservative for years. We're a very, very, very blue state. We're a mini California, but we don't want to acknowledge it because we're still sleepwalking. So many states are like ours. If you consider yourself living in a conservative state, you're really not. You're really not. Your policies are showing something completely different, all guised under Republican wording. So look, this show is about waking up. The show isn't about telling you what you want to hear. So I'm so sorry if I offend, but I'm not really, because maybe if we offend you enough to wake up, then that's a good thing. Can't be a bad thing. So I appreciate you guys. Make sure and go get Cardio Miracle. It supports the show, but it's really going to support your health. And also go get the ebooks and tell people, would you guys mind doing a post today? Anyone listening to the show or listening to the podcast, mostly because that's what usually people do. But listen, if you could share katetalks.myshopify.com and wake people up that way, could we please do that? Can you help? Because the show can't stay on doing this very much longer. Can't afford to. And if you want to help donate to the show, great. Keep this research going, great. If you want to do the ebooks, great. If you want to put that out there, great. I would really appreciate you right now, because freedom of speech, people like me, there's only a few of us left. And I know because I'm an average person who got to do media and see behind the curtain. And I'm telling you, we're in such a mess. We're in such a mess. So many of your celebrities that you follow and people that are popular are so bought, and you think they're telling you the truth and they're going rogue and they're not. Please support free speech while we still have it. I feel like once I go off doing this, I've done this for 16 years and hanging by a thread. Once this ends, I don't have any assurance at all that we'll have any free speech left. And I'm not trying to be dramatic about that. I'm just trying to tell you the state that we're in. There's only a few people out there that don't care about advancing a career and are not going to take the talking points. There's always talking points. So if you like talking point news, instead of people that are a little more refreshing and will tell you what they're finding and taking kind of a bold step in telling you what they're finding, then support people like me, because we're out there trying, and we've given up big careers to do it, trying to get truth out. So even if you don't agree with everything I say, it might be good for you to support free speech in general, because we're so close to losing all of it. There's only a few people in the country that actually speak out the way I do. You should be questioning everything right now. Everything. The only thing I don't question is God. I know God lives. I've had too much in my life that has told me that. So we need to reason things out. So thank you for tuning in. Be faithful, be fearless. Go to the website, katedalleyradio.com, and also go to katetalks.myshopify.com. Get the ebooks. It supports free speech. You're also getting something you can learn from. The organ donation book is out. That's pretty amazing. And you're going to want to see what it says, because it's going to change your view of organ donation. Not that you shouldn't do it, but it should be based on the situation, not an overall, I want to be a hero and give my organs away. Okay. We're doing it too fast. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And I will see you tomorrow.